When did you realize you're not as intelligent as you thought you were? First year of uni. I had it very easy in HS. I was one of the lucky bastards who could ace everything with minimal effort, scored in the 99th percentile in my country's equivalent of the SATs, etc. And then that first year of engineering just took a big ol' shit on everything I thought about myself, lol. It was a pretty humbling experience. Same here, and it works, because I do know a lot about certain things and a little about a lot. I read a thread about what intelligent people actually do, or how you know someone is intelligent, and one comment hit home, that truly intelligent people are willing to admit that they don't know. It seems super obvious, but I like to be the person who knows stuff, and I don't like to admit I don't. So I'm working on it. Instead of nodding, like I understand everything, I ask the questions and learn. I think the biggest gift I got about my own intelligence was learning that there are so many different ways to be smart. Some of the ways I'm not smart are more learnable than others. Some I'll always be mediocre at. Others I can slowly improve upon with work and dedication. Some don't really interest me in getting good at. Some I'll just never be good at, no matter how hard I try. When I realized how much there was to learn. There's so much to learn, and not even our greatest geniuses can ever hope to know even 1/100th of it. That being said, my arrogance and pride in my intelligence is still present, now accompanied by my frustration with how idiotic some people are. I can't say I was pessimist before the pandemic, but seeing everything that went down this year, it reminds me of the revelation I had in my teenage years. Being an adult does not lead to maturity or wisdom. I had kind of an opposite experience to what I think you are asking. For a good portion of my adult life, I existed thinking that I was missing out on something. When I saw people who had a college degree, I always just assumed they knew more than I did and were smarter for it. I got my degree when I was 34 years old. All of my time in school I realized that those people who graduate aren't smarter than anyone else. They just went to school. It wasn't just the students, but the professors too. It was a humbling experience to find out that there were such stupid people everywhere you looked, even in the places where stupid is supposed to be sent to die. When I was younger, admitting I didn't know something would give me anxiety, probably from how I was raised, and would get screamed at. It took some years, after meeting quite established people that, even though they were smart AF, they would always be able to say you know what? I didn't know that. Thanks for teaching me. It really opened my eyes on who is intelligent vs who just wants to look that way. In college and later when working as a software developer, I was almost always the best programmer in the room. I was the go-to guy when someone needed help. Naturally I thought I should try helping others with their problems online, like on Stack Overflow or other help forums. Oh boy, I was not ready for the real programmers. I thought my answer was pretty good. Then in horror, I watched the masters pick my solution apart like vultures on roadkill. It was eye-opening. I knew I was young in my career, and that I still had a lot to learn, but this felt like I was back at square one. I keep in my lane now and only answer the basic questions. Thank you for asking this question. I never thought of it to such extent before, but I think this realization had a huge impact in my life. I was quite traumatic, in fact. I share the same experience as many people here. In my secondary school I just had to read things once, and I was good for the exams. I didn't even have to try to be one of the top scorers. My parents would always say I was really smart, but I didn't know how to focus. But my childish brain didn't know what it meant. My parents didn't either, I guess. They only had professional education. Then when the final exam results came out, I checked it with my parents and one of my relatives' kids. I had scored well, but this other kid got straight full grades. I didn't realize it that time, but it was quite traumatic for me. My confidence was gone. I was still doing okay, but that feeling that I was awesome was not there. I felt like a shadow of my past self. I did finish engineering somehow, but did nothing spectacular. I was depressed for a long time without realizing it, and I think this feeling of not being the best, which I was convinced of when I was young, might have been a reason for it. That was around 10 years ago. But in the last couple of years I started to understand the importance of sustained effort and how far it can get you. and I have done just that, and will keep doing so. I have stopped comparing my life to other people's life. I have stopped feeling the shame of not being as successful as I thought I should have been. This feeling, I suppose, was making me depressed. Emo. Being just good or good enough throughout is better than being awesome once. I've been called smart, and my IQ is decently above average. But my family often talks about places I've been to that I for the life of me can't remember. I also have difficulty remembering the simplest things like their birthdays. And back in school, I didn't even bother to remember the names of the other kids. But it was only when I had a boyfriend who would talk about our earliest dates, like he remembered everything, that I realized, man, my memory really sucks. So, my girlfriend and I are fairly smart people. She has a master's in GIs and I have 2 bachelors with honors and a handful of minors. We both have jobs that use those degrees, and we are good at them. Neither of us struggled in high school. IBAN gifted programs abound, or college, honor/full ride. It was fairly easy for us both, while both holding down jobs, etc. That illusion all came crashing down spectacularly the other day when she got a drawing tablet. It's a Wacom one, and it has this weird 4-part connected cord situation. One is an HDMI, one is the power USB-C, and then 2 USB. One has a little block on it. We know how it's supposed to happen. The HDMI goes into the HDMI port. The USB-C goes in the USB-C port. USB goes in the power plug. The other goes in the computer. Simple, right? No, we spend like 3 hours on this thing, using every computer in the house, installing drivers, everything we can think of. We wait for hours for it to charge, because I'm here like the screen is on, and it's not working on any laptop we have, so it's something with the device. We are frantically googling, but no one on earth seems to have our problem. There's a video on the website on how to plug it in, and it's 30 seconds, and my girlfriend is like, we don't need to see that, but I spite watch the damn thing, only to see that we, the absolute morons, that we apparently are, put the wrong USB plug into the power block. We were drawing power from the laptop, and had the data transfer cable plugged into the power block. Despite the, surge protector on the power block USB, and the lack of that on the other. So yeah. We are idiots. Early 2000s, I was on shift sysadmin in its support center. Checking backup tapes in the data center, I noticed the PTC Windows clock was on Central European Time, set, instead of GMT. I live in the UK, so I fixed it, and updated the clock 3 hours later. 2,700 call center staff were sent home early, because there were no more inbound calls, because, somehow, mysteriously, the PTC clock had been reset to GMT, instead of set. You're welcome guys. First year of college. In high school, I was one top 3 in my class. Everyone asked for help with homework. I was able to slide through it easy and always did good on my state's standardized tests. In college, everything is different. Teaching style is opposite. No one cares about you for the most part, unless you actually go and talk to someone. They don't know if you don't talk about it, and you are just kind of suddenly dropped on your ass. High school doesn't prepare you for college or the real world in any way. I'm still struggling, and I'm 2.5 years through undergrad. Helping my kids with their homework. Now I understand when my mum used to say they used to do things differently. I used to say, mum, it's maths and English, how much can it have changed? But it fucking does. We used to have the magic key and my kids have split something digraphs or some shit. I don't know, I had to google it. And they do maths all weird too. I not only now feel stupid, but also really f***ing old. I was always far smarter than everyone I've ever met, but I grew up very poor, so the local addicts or future addicts didn't really offer a challenge. I grew very accustomed, until I left the intercity, and met my first rich kid and quickly realized I didn't know shit about anything your average middle schooler going to private school knew everything I did, and more by the time they left elementary. Things got worse as I had to compete with people who tried, and didn't skate by, based on their high-level education. Shortly after I moved to Europe and the knowledge gap widened, since everyone had my same info plus European knowledge I didn't even know existed. Aside from Mexico, I didn't learn other countries existed until 10th grade, when I got the internet. Sounds weird, but in Texas you learn Texas history. Aside from the Alamo, other countries don't exist. First year of law school. I came in with a stellar GPA and test scores, and I definitely thought I was hot stuff. Yeah, nope. In law school, there's always someone smarter than you, and there's a handful of people that will work you under the table pretty much no matter what. I remember a classmate that screwed around pretty much every class period watching sports or reading about random things on Wikipedia. He still was in the top 10 of the class. And then there's always a dozen or so students studying late into Friday night while their classmates are busy getting lit and forgetting the week. I worked very hard and still only managed to be a median student. I was one of those kids at the library on Friday night. It didn't matter for me. It was a sobering time, and I'm so glad to have endured that part. It's not healthy thinking too highly of your intelligence. Taking a graduate level philosophy seminar on ancient epistemology. Content-wise, I followed everything without too much difficulty and also earned a respectable grade. The moment of realization was subserved by my peers. They would interpret readings in deep non-trivial ways that I would never think to do, and had class discussions that left me completely behind. It was a matter of creative intelligence that I did not possess, whereas I was able to read and understand the texts we encountered. They were able to do this and take those understandings to new heights, and it was very sobering to experience them doing so. I was very young. I'm a middle child of a large family. I definitely felt a forgotten trope about being a middle child. I stopped growing for years, and I felt no leadership or push for me to get better. I needed glasses, but didn't want to get bullied, so I didn't wear them. Teachers and parents never made me wear them. They sent me to what was colloquially called retard classes to learn how to read. I knew how to read, but couldn't see the chalkboard. 3 years of this, and then an eye doctor visited my school. The amount of anger and punishment that came down on me sticks with me to this day. I'm retarded. I was raised to be retarded. I have a strong back, a good work ethic. I'm very dumb, and that's all I can trust now. Like a lot of other people said, college was the first wake-up call for me. The second one was graduating college. I was overstressed in college and didn't line up a job immediately afterwards. Searching for a job out of season can be pretty rough, and that shattered my self-confidence for a while. Having a job has restored most of that, but I now recognize that finding your primary sense of self-worth in your accomplishments is foolish. I've never really questioned my intelligence in a way that wasn't some paranoid, narcissistic, Truman Show-esque fantasy. What I have come to discover is that no one cares. My values and priorities are drastically different from the norm, so most of what I add to a conversation comes off esoteric and irrelevant. It's an experience that's certainly humbled me and my perception of the world. I no longer draw any real line between Shakespeare and Kardashian. Popular and well made, there is literally no difference besides hipster pride. Grade 1. My family couldn't afford to give me money for the Scholastic book fair, or pizza money, for that matter, so I stole some money from a random bag on the teacher's desk. I figured it'd look most believable if I left the bag open, so it'd look like the money maybe fell out on the ground outside or SMTH. A few hours later, the teacher rounded up the class to see if anyone would admit to stealing the pizza money. She said she knew it was stolen and not just a miscount because the bag was still open. I learned my lesson that day. People think differently from me, and I have a lot to learn if I want to afford books without getting caught. After a few promotions, I became a bona fide senior in my highly technical field. I eventually realized that you can be in the 1% of a population by some measure, but that it means nothing once you reach that level. It is the 1% of the 1%, maybe of the 1%, where leadership takes place. Think how it is that a few hundred people have an oversized effect on a country. I found out that I was not as smart as a CEO or people on that career path. Think Alpha++ in Brave New World. I'm definitely not one of them. Freshman high school. I took an accounting class because I figured it would help me in the future with money, even if I don't become an accountant. I was feeling really good the first semester of class, and I took about 2 weeks before midterms for me to realize I was the only freshman and everyone else was a junior/senior. I had been actually doing good in class, grade-wise until then, but then I got crushed by the midterm, and it hurt. Screwed up my confidence, which in turn hurt my grades. I still passed, and I still like the business courses. I took almost every one in H's 2020 grad, but that first year was rough. So I live in the UK, and I was absolutely acing XE maths. I'm talking getting 8s and 9s, A*, on exams with no revision. In my school I also did a statistics course, and I got an A in that. Once you get to final year though you can take further maths which is mostly A-level maths. I took it, and the highest grade I've been able to get is an E. I think my point was sophomore year of high school. I usually coated in most of my classes, because I always thought it was too easy. My first college class APUSH, which was also my first F and D grades. I think what really got me though is not only am I not incredibly smart, but that doesn't mean I can't do anything about it. Still coasting but with way more effort. Close bracket. Twice, in different capacities. One was when I was in my second year of my PhD program, and then again when my ex-husband decided he wanted a divorce out of what seemed to me nowhere. I guess the first time was more just realizing there were people as smart as me, but the second one was dumbfounding. What I got out of my small town school and went to college. Luckily my parents were realists and shared with me test scores, but being at the top of the class with zero effort left me lagging in college. I had to learn good study habits very fast to keep up with other students who were also top of their classes previously. Second year in university, when I hit calculus second. High school was so easy that I never developed study skills. Hell, now that I think about it, it was mostly getting spoon-fed for weeks and then regurgitating everything onto a test. No actual thought process was required. So yeah, I'm painfully average it turns out, if not a little below. First semester of my manuscript in computer science. I went from straight A's through college in my undergrad engineering degree to not understanding the words people were saying in class and getting a 20% on my first homework assignment that the class averaged a 92% on. Very humbling experience. I come to this realization every couple years. I think I'm so smart and have things down. Then I realize there's another group of people way smarter than me. Then I rise to the top of that group and think I have things down. Then I realize there's yet another group of people way smarter than me. Continue this pattern. Started in early high school and had continued to this day. It took me until my first internship. I have always done well in school post middle school and have done some really fun projects that, as I was told, were very ambitious for someone my age. I took an internship at an IoT company and was open to the world of modern problems in technology. This was such a humbling experience. Never. Biggest realization was that there is no difference between intelligence, working hard to know more, and learning how to learn. The smartest man I knew in college worked 12 hours 6 days a week studying. No exceptions. He was, now is, a tenured track faculty member by 25. Real talk, you just need to be smart enough. The rest is just brutal uncompromising hard work. When I started working as an aircraft fueler in Kitchener, my prior aviation experience was as a baggage handler/ramp agent in Toronto. But for some reason, that knowledge didn't translate into a small airport like that where most of my job had nothing to do with airplanes. Was a huge reason why I eventually quit working at an airport, where some days I wouldn't touch a plane at all. Honestly, I've always realized I wasn't the smartest kid in class. I've always been a pretty average student. However, when I moved from my small town in Florida to Connecticut, while in high school I struggled to keep a BC average. That might have been the first time I felt behind in education, especially in math. I got the hang of it eventually and did just fine.